Voila. What's up, movie addicts? Welcome to the Movie Addiction Podcast. Midnight movie talk. 1 a.m. movie talk, if it were, on this January 19th, 2022. Getting to it really late tonight, but nonetheless, I did not go back to bed. I decided, hey, let's do a movie talk anyways. Even though I'm 2 hours past schedule, I'm beyond the point of trying to stick to any schedule. So, my apologies there. We'll get right into it. A lot of news has come out so far this week. It's Tuesday. Didn't get to do a show yesterday. So I'll try to cover as much as I can today, although all the stories are actually going to be from today. On my weekend movie talk, I'll probably go through everything I missed talking about yesterday because there was a few things, but for the most part, most of the news started today, or yesterday. I guess it's 1 a.m. now, so this is the movie talk for Tuesday happening bright and early on Wednesday morning. The big story that did come out on Monday, which kind of stole all the media, and I guess I didn't miss out much on not doing a show yesterday because I don't want to spend too much time on it anyways because it's a non-story to me, and that's just this Joss Whedon shit. And I kind of touched on it on the weekend movie talk as well because it was trending over the weekend, but then he actually addressed it on Monday, which is why all the articles and stuff were written. Let me knock this shit. Sorry, I felt like it was about to fall on me. Anyways, so yeah, that's a non-story to me. He addressed some claims that have been made for the past couple of years now regarding Justice League, and it was all wrapped up with the boycott WB that's constantly been trending, and I support Ray Fisher or something like that, hashtag Ray Fisher. Stuff's been trending for a while. Basically, there were some allegations that he was mean on the set of Justice League, which was a chaotic situation that he was kind of thrust into. Obviously, Zack Snyder got pulled off the movie, or didn't get pulled off the movie. I don't mean to be disrespectful like that. He bowed out of the movie due to some private family events, which I'm not even going to mention here because doesn't really matter. Long story is he was no longer part of the movie that he'd been making, he'd been building, he'd been putting so much work and time into. Joss Whedon came in. It was kind of a shit show. He was an asshole, apparently. After Ray Fisher came out and accused him of racism, which I think still has been unsubstantiated. We've had other people come out and say, yeah, he was an asshole to work with. Gal Gadot has come out. There's been other people that have come out that said that, he's not always the best to work with. But most of the claims center around the Justice League film. Sorry. It's not like stories have started floating from the past, at least none that are like super bad. And at the end of the day, I like the products that the dude makes, and so if he's a little mean to his employees, which is what they are, that sucks. That's unfortunate. It might be hard for him to get work once that word spreads around unless his product is really good. But I think about Stanley Kubrick or some of the old school filmmakers that would basically torture their film stars. He's not pleasant to work with, but he gets the job done. I've heard some pretty weird stuff about, God, I can't remember. The director that made Foxcatcher was kind of sketchy. This is all just in this, 2010 on era of everybody needing to be a victim and everybody wanting to be babied, basically, in this society. Because he was beloved just a couple of years ago, and they're trying to cancel this guy the same as Harvey Weinstein, where apparently all he was rude. There's no legit claim of like physical abuse or anything. He threatened Gal Gadot's career. I don't give that much of a shit about that. It was a stressful movie situation. He's a film director. If he's a dick, I don't care. I like the movies he makes. And everybody's, mad about his non-apology, and he shouldn't have. I don't think he apologized, but he addressed it. I think that's what the articles were. Like I said, I didn't even spend that much time on it because I don't care. I move on. If he's that bad to work with, then maybe we're not going to hear from him again in Hollywood. And it sucks because if the buzz around how the last movie went will affect going forward, that might be the last big movie that we get out of him. And that's unfortunate because it seems like that was the only bad patch in his entire career. But anyways, he shouldn't have apologized. He shouldn't have addressed it. That's how I always recommend to handle cancel culture, is to just let it go away. And eventually it will. And for some reason, he felt the need to come out and start talking about it. And the other big issue was he was apparently accused of racism, which, like I said, has been unsubstantiated. But he decided to address this on Martin Luther King Day, so that makes him an absolute evil, racist, hypocritical person. I don't know. I could give a shit. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Avatar 2 and Aquaman 2 are opening on the same day, December 16th, 2022. Old news that came out a couple of weeks ago, but because of a discussing film post on Twitter, that's the trending topic right now. People are talking about which one are you going to go see? Who do you think's going to make more money? And for me, I see this as kind of I don't know if we'll actually get to December 16th and both these movies are coming out. For one reason, who knows if Avatar 2 is actually going to come out on December 16th. I feel like we've gotten release dates for this movie before, and it's just been pushed back several times. We're already past a decade since the first movie, and I know that this isn't like they spent all this time coming up with a crazy story. It's a technology that James Cameron has probably invented to put this film together. But this feels a lot like Batman vs. Superman and Civil War. A lot of people forget those were both originally supposed to open on the same day. It was a game of chicken until like a month before. Maybe it was 2 months. It wasn't long before, but Batman v Superman ended up moving off that date, and they actually moved up. The only difference is I believe they moved into March. The release date for Civil War, which they were both originally slated for, was, I think, in April, and Batman vs. Superman moved up into March. There wasn't a whole lot of competition there. This year is stacked. I don't remember exactly what's coming out in the months leading up to and after, into 2023, but chances are it's not going to be you're not going to get better or worse competition depending on where you go, especially if either one of these movies have legs. So I think one of them's going to budge, but I don't know which one, and I don't know where it would budge to. But like I said, Avatar 2 could get pushed back anyways because they're just not done with it. Who knows? We haven't seen any trailers or anything from that movie. I'm super excited about it, obviously, because James Cameron never disappoints, and the fact that he spent so long on this film and has also already developed I think 18 sequels or something like that even if I don't know, that they're not going to have to pitch this movie real hard once we find out what we're getting with this movie. The story of Avatar was pretty bland in my opinion, but it was what we got when we went to see it. The visual orgasm, if you will, that made that movie for the longest time the most successful movie ever. And I think it technically regained that title because of re-releases and whatnot. I think it was knocked down for a little bit because of Endgame, but I think it's the number one movie ever again. And even if that title does go away eventually, it's still, you can't take away the importance that movie had because it was a number one movie for so long. And for the longest time, there was only two, I think there was definitely less than $5 billion films. The top two were Avatar and Titanic, and Avatar was $2 billion. And so for the longest time, the top two was both James Cameron films. Like I said, as soon as Marvel really picked up steam over the last decade, the numbers got all kind of jacked. And plus, we get with the exception of the last couple of years because of pandemic era, we usually get $5-ish billion movies. That's the international box office total. It didn't used to be like that. And James Cameron is a wonderful filmmaker and storyteller and all that, but the reason his movies are profitable is because of the interest, the intrigue of not only his subject matters, but the films, what we're going to see. like I said, not story-wise. This isn't, people don't care that much about Blue Pocahontas, but it was the visual 3D effects is what brought people to the theater. So to go back to the original question, if neither one of them budges, what am I going to go see? I'll probably go see Aquaman 2 right now. If this was tomorrow, I would go see Aquaman 2 first. But that could change once I see a trailer, once I find out what kind of crazy shit we're going to see in Avatar 2. That could change. I would probably go see Avatar 2 right afterwards. In fact, if this doesn't change, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to see Aquaman Thursday night and Avatar Friday. But I don't care that much about the story of Avatar. Like I said, that could change. And as far as which one's going to make a lot of money or which one's going to make more money, that's a difficult question because initially, depending on what we see in the trailer, I think Aquaman 2 might make more money that opening weekend. But that's the other thing about Avatar that a lot of people forget was the legs on it. It didn't open bad at all, but it wasn't the crazy blockbuster opening that made it so historic. It was the legs that it had, and I believe it was a holiday release also, and it was into the new year. It just would not leave the top 5, and it just weekend after weekend would bring in $10 million, then $30 million, and 50, and all up and down the box office charts. That also had to do with Academy Award buzz and things like that. So which will make more money? Initially, I think Aquaman, and I'm terrible at these things, so I might be wrong. But what am I going to go see initially, as of right now? Aquaman 2, because that's what I'm the most excited about. And I think the other reason why this might have been trending today, why they decided to talk about this today, is on the heels of the Joss Whedon shit, because a lot of people say, we don't even care about the Zack Snyder DCE universe. The only good thing about that was Aquaman, and Aquaman 2 is coming out. And I don't know why so many people have turned on Wonder Woman. I thought the Wonder Woman movie was awesome. I know Zack Snyder wasn't involved with that. He wasn't involved with Aquaman either, but that was the sentiment I kept seeing yesterday was, he gave us all these DCEU movies that sucked. The only good one was Aquaman. So I'm like, okay. So maybe that's the purpose or the origin of the conversation today. Because like I said, they announced that was going to be the release date, I think at least a couple of weeks ago. It's not new news, but it's a hot conversation today. And so we'll get to the first major story. It actually is a story of today, which was very delightful to read when I woke up. I saw it like first thing this morning. I can't remember when it broke, but I was at work. It took me a while to look at my phone, and it was everywhere. And this is one of the coolest announcements that I've read for a movie in a while, and it kind of reminds me of something we were talking about the other day with Zendaya playing the Renette singer. Now we got Daniel Radcliffe to play Weird Al Yankovic in Roku's first original biopic movie. This is from Variety, and I'll read a bit of the article and then give my thoughts. Daniel Radcliffe is set to star as Grammy-winning musician Weird Al Yankovic in the Roku original movie Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. The film is Roku's first original biopic and will be available to stream exclusively on the Roku channel. The project is produced by Funny or Die and Tango. Yankovic co-wrote the film script with Eric Apple, who is also set to direct the project. The official Weird, the Al Yankovic Story synopsis from Roku reads, "The biopic holds nothing back, exploring every fact of Yankovic's life, from his meteoric rise to fame with early hits like Eat It and Like a Surgeon to his torrid celebrity love affairs and famously depraved lifestyle. Weird, the Al Yankovic Story takes audiences on a truly unbelievable journey through Yankovic's life and career, from gifted child prodigy to the greatest musical legend of all time." So there's a lot to read there. Obviously, they're not taking themselves too seriously. We know this is produced by Funny or Die. Eric Apple, I have no idea who that is. I looked at his IMDb, and he had like other credits associated with Weird Al. So okay, there's a couple things to talk about with this. First, the main thing, Daniel Radcliffe. Okay, it wouldn't have been my pick. I don't know who my pick would have been. But the first reason why I'm a little hesitant on that. And I don't want to take this movie too seriously. But he's getting a little old, and I think Weird Al got successful pretty young. Not that Daniel Radcliffe's like an old man or anything, but he's got to be in his like mid-30s, right? Maybe 40. I don't know. I might be totally off on that, and they can totally fix that. But he wouldn't have been my pick. It's gonna be weird. I've never seen somebody that's typecast as a character then take on a real historical figure, and I'm sure it's happened before, and there's probably some obvious examples. But how are people not going to watch this and just think, that's Harry Potter? That's not Weird Al. I don't know. That's the problem. Daniel Radcliffe is typecast as Harry Potter, but he can still have other performances that aren't super significant. If it's another brand new character, we have no problem kind of losing Harry Potter when we're looking at him that way. Let's see. I think you're speaking a language I don't understand. I apologize. So yeah, the Radcliffe thing's interesting. Plus, I think this is just going to be a straight up mockumentary, whatever it is, because like I don't think Weird Al's British, is he? I don't know. This movie's going to be hilarious. I would like it to be a straight-up biopic, but I'm skeptical of that. The other aspect of this story is Roku's first original biopic. Roku, the Sirius of TVs. They haven't had any original content that I've seen. Maybe a documentary or two. So this is definitely going to get people to watch it for sure. Funny or Die. See, this is all leading me to think that it's a comedy and it's not going to be too seriously. It's probably going to be very slapsticky. Sorry, I don't know what you're saying there. Vorong? I don't know. Vorong to you, too. I will say that this reminded me of back when they first announced the details of the dirt that we finally actually got, which was the Motley Crue biopic. And that movie had been in the works for years and was in development hell, as they call it. And we're constantly hearing about different directors and writers and stars and everything like that would be attached to it, and ultimately it would just fall apart until the final official announcement, which I didn't take to be the final official announcement because I thought this sounds ridiculous, was the director of Jackass was going to come on and do this gritty, serious movie about a dark, awesome rock metal band, but hair metal band, but with a kind of a dark checkered past. And I was like, okay, it's going to be a fun movie. The guy that made Jackass, this isn't going to be like any serious, kind of film at all. And I ended up being wrong. And, I have a bias there because it's my favorite band, but it ended up being awesome, I thought. And so the Funny or Die and the unknown director and all that doesn't worry me too much. But the other reason is I think we're getting a straight up comedy here. It reminds me of another movie coming out this year, which is the Machine. I don't know what they're actually calling it, but Bert Kreischer's movie that they're making. It was originally announced as they were making his Machine story into a movie. But it turns out what they're actually doing is they're continuing the Machine story in like a fictional version of like today. Like he's a adult stand-up comedian now, and I think he gets kidnapped by Luke Skywalker. I can't remember exactly how it's going there, but it's set in historical reality, but then goes into historical fiction. Like pretty ridiculously. That might be what we get here. I have no idea what to expect from this. Weird Al signing on, which is cool. I just talked about this with Zendaya, but you never know what you're gonna get when you get a musician or any celebrity rather involved in the production of their own story being told. You can get a super watered down, buttered up version of events like in Straight Outta Compton, Or you can get the Motley Crue version where they don't leave out any of the shitty details. They tell you all the fucked up shit that they did. Weird Al, I don't think we have to worry about that much, because I don't think he's got that much skeletons in his closet. I don't think so anyways. I'm not too familiar if he had any tabloid trouble or anything like that. He's writing the movie, which is a good sign, I think, because I think Weird Al could get people to go see a Weird Al movie. What I would like them to do, though, which they might actually be doing this. I haven't read too much about this. Maybe it mentions in the article. What would be cool is if this Weird Al movie was a parody. It probably is. I don't know what biopic they would be mocking. I'm sure there's a music biopic that's formatted the same way in the title. Weird, the Al Yankovic story. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. They should have done a play on words like Walk the Line or Straight Outta Compton. Some of the other big music biopics that have happened over the years. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this, but I'm excited. Daniel Radcliffe cast as Weird Al Yankovic. And it is not April 1st. That's a real thing that's happening. Here's another story. This from The Hollywood Reporter. Spider-Man No Way Home lands at number 4 on the all-time box office list. The Sony and Marvel superhero pick has crossed the $700 million mark at the domestic box office. That COVID's over, man. I got some other stories. I probably won't get to them because I've only got like 9 minutes left. But there was a George Clooney movie that just shut down over COVID. People are still blaming the epic failure of that Steven Spielberg piece of shit, the musical. I don't know. But anyways, on COVID, a lot of people still COVID. Everything's COVID's fault. This is the 4th biggest movie of all time. COVID's over. It doesn't matter how good the movie is. If people were really worried about COVID, they wouldn't go to see it. This is super exciting. Like this to me shows that we're back. We are, I think, less than a month. No, we're probably exactly a month since this movie's been released. Maybe a little over a month. I can't remember. And it's already at number 4. And it's going. It's going to continue to keep going. On Monday, the Sony and Marvel Studios superhero blockbuster became the 4th highest grossing movie of all time, not adjusted for inflation, and after passing up Black Panther to finish the day with $702.6 million in ticket sales, according to final numbers for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend. No Way Home is among only 5 films to earn $700 million or more domestically after Black Panther, which made $700.4, Avatar, which was $760.5, Avengers Endgame $858.4, and Star Wars: The Force Awakens $936.7. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, it's a Marvel movie. It was, going to make $1 billion anyways." It's not always a guarantee. I know that was the idea with the what came out last week. They said, "Oh, we lost $600 million on Black Widow," and that number is based on the baseline that they would have made $1 billion on that movie, because it ended up making like 380 or something. And they said, we lost $600 million. So they were, we never got the numbers officially on how much they made from the release thing, but it definitely wasn't, enough to have made it $1 billion movie. I don't know about all that, but I think this is a very good sign because movies are back. I know they're starting to shut down concerts and shit again because of Omicron, the Omicron, I think is what it's called. They just need to let people move on. I think people have shown with this, because this isn't we're not talking about anti-vax or like certain people that would have a different a hoaxy opinion of COVID that are going to see Spider-Man. This is nerds and nerdy kids, and enough to make it the 4th biggest movie of all time. And the days of streaming make things weird because of how much money it's made and it's continued to make, they'll probably give it a little while longer. But these days, the theatrical windows are usually, at least they are with, I think Warner Brothers movies, I think it's going to be a 45-day theatrical window. Sony hasn't said that they're sticking to that as well, but that seems like that's going to be the baseline model. And I don't think they're going to stick to that, because people would stop seeing this movie probably this week if they knew that it was going to be on streaming in the next week and a half, which it would be if we went by that 45-day thing. I lost where I was going with that, but yeah, super psyched about it. We're back. Movies are back. Related topic, and I'll end here. The Eternals breaks record for biggest MCU movie debut on Disney+. Eternals was streamed by 2 million U.S. households in 5 days after premiering on Disney+, making it the biggest MCU film on the streamer. This is like the first fast food restaurant to open, being called the most successful fast food restaurant. Most burgers sold in New York on the day that the only fast food restaurant opens. That's a shitty comparison. I'm asleep. I should be in bed. But for the sake of making content, this is a new record, obviously, so I'm taking all credibility that this movie should have gotten for that recognition away. I think that exactly what I just said about Spider-Man, how people could have thought about that movie, is how they thought about this movie, and it's actually how I thought about Black Widow. I didn't bother to go see Black Widow in the theaters. It wasn't because of COVID or anything. It's because I was broke, and I was dealing with a lot of other shit, and so I said, I'll just wait till that one comes out on Disney+. I had the same exact mentality about Eternals, but it's because these movies didn't interest me as much. You can't blame it on COVID. You blame it on the fact that, okay, I don't necessarily want to spend my money on that, but I already pay for Disney+. I'll just wait till it comes out. I'm not really itching. These are all new characters. I don't need to get in there to see what's happened to them. Let's just wait till it comes out. I still haven't watched it yet, but that was my plan the entire time, was I'm going to just wait for it to come to Disney+. Eternals premiered on Disney Plus on January 12, 2022, and has already become the biggest premiere for an MCU film on Disney Plus, introducing an entirely new set of characters to the MCU. Eternals was one of Marvel Studios' biggest gambles to date, as the film was marketed very differently, meaning not at all, from previous MCU films. The reaction from critics was polarizing, as it scored the lowest rating for an MCU film on Rotten Tomatoes, and the first rotten score in the MCU film series. Is that true? Iron Man 2 wasn't rotten? Thor 2 wasn't rotten? I'll have to check that out. Anyways, yeah, no, the movie looked like it was going to suck, so it didn't make any money. And then it came out that it did suck, and so it continued to not make any money. But people like me said, okay, well, it's still part of the whole Marvel thing, so I'm going to check it out anyways, but I might not spend my money on it. The Black Widow, they also didn't do the at-home release where you could pay $30 like they did with Black Widow. So, I don't know. I think this did do pretty well box office-wise. But the people who wanted to see Black Widow either paid for it at home or they went and saw it. It didn't do bad at the box office. I think it's a top 10er from last year. But that's just because it was a Marvel thing, which is another reason why you can't just say Spider-Man would have automatically made that much money, because this movie made this much money just based on having been a Marvel movie. And I think a lot of people waited for it, so obviously it was going to have a pretty big debut on Disney Plus, because a lot of people were waiting for it. I'm talking in circles now. I need to go to bed. I'm going to wrap this up. I'll be back tomorrow, probably, hopefully, at 11 p.m. Mountain Time. If not, 1 a.m. Mountain Time the following day. I do want to say I will be doing the Ozark spoiler streams starting Thursday morning. So I guess that's tomorrow, isn't it? No. I'll have to check. I think Friday morning, 1 a.m. So I'll probably do a midnight movie talk tomorrow night. Then the next day I'll do, I think, the first episode of Ozark. Maybe I'll do the first two, because I'm waking up at midnight to feed the babies. Anyways, that's on their feeding schedule. Then Ozark's supposed to drop at 1 my time. So I think it'll take me like an hour to get through that first episode and then get ready to go on here. And then I'll probably just throughout the day and throughout the weekend do a stream and a spoiler video after each episode drops. And I know that has nothing to do with movies. I did the spoiler streams with the MCU shows, and I was able to say, well, you know, it's not technically movie related, but these shows are about movies. They're born from movies. So I'm going to use that as an excuse to talk about them. I don't have anything on Ozark. I just love that show, and I'm so excited for it to come back. And so I'm going to talk about it. So keep your eye out for that, because, as I mentioned before, I'm not doing Peacemaker. I could not get through the first episode of that show, and I am not... I don't know enough about Star Wars to have a good Star Wars show, so I'm not going to do Boba Fett either. I'll give a brief opinion on it once it's over, and I haven't watched it yet either. I like binging those things. So yeah, those were the two shows that I could be doing it with, the spoiler streams. And luckily, all of Ozark drops at once on Netflix, but unluckily that doesn't make for good streaming, because I don't have to, it's not like we're getting an episode every week. Anticipation isn't building. Everybody's watching it at their own pace. So when you get through episode 5, I might have only been doing my video for like episode 2 now, because people are going to sit down and watch this whole thing in one day. I have a feeling that's what I'm going to do. So that's what's coming up. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.